Welcome everyone to another episode of Movie Buzzed, where we talk about movies all while buzzed. I'm your host, Jose Gonzalez, and this is my usual co-host, Eisen Martinez. I'm sure you know us very well by now.
It's the third time already.
Yeah, let's get right into it. We're going to be talking about the long-awaited Mortal Kombat movie. We have been waiting months and months for this, and it's finally here. It came, we saw it, and it's time.
Sucked.
What?
First segment.
Initial impressions. What?
No, it was all right.
That's a lukewarm opinion. I liked it a lot.
It was all right.
I thought it was a ton of fun.
Giving a 7 would have been generous.
Like a 7 out of 10?
Yeah.
I mean, what did you go in expecting?
I expected more responsibility with the lore.
The lore. I mean, we have to assume that they were going to redo things. I mean, they couldn't adapt the lore of the video games exactly as it was. The lore of the video games doesn't even respect its own lore, with constant retcons across the years.
That's fine. You could just pick one. I don't think it's up to. I don't think movie studios should be allowed to mess with any lore that comes from a different form of media. I don't think so.
I don't think the Mortal Kombat video games would adapt nicely onto a screen. And either way, I don't want to see the video games on the big screen. I can play the video games for that. You know, I want to see a fresh story with a new take on the characters, and I feel like I got that. While still retaining the spirit of the video games, which is silly, campiness, gore, and good fighting. And I think I got all of that in spades.
I think there's a way to balance campy, gore, respect for the lore, and all that. I don't think it was this film, though. Not enough to satisfy me.
So is that where it fell short for you the most? Was it just that it didn't adapt the lore?
I just didn't like the changes that were being made. I didn't like the, as you said, was it the studio plant or the audience plant?
All right, Cole Young.
It had the same marking you do, Cole.
It's a birthmark.
What do you mean?
He was born with it.
Right.
An audience surrogate, right. So that and that's the thing. I understand why he's there. I would have rather he wasn't there, but I get why he was. Right, the audience needs to identify with they need to identify with a character, and he is there so that the characters in the world can explain what the hell is going on.
All right. Before we get into breaking down, just
sure.
the film, what were your initial thoughts?
So there was obviously a lot of cheesy moments, and this was a by the books action movie. I'm pretty sure that I could have transplanted lines from other generic action movies, and nothing would have changed. But all that did was make me smile. All it did was make me laugh. Every time somebody said fatality, or
Kano wins.
It was so stupid, but it made me laugh.
We were having completely different reactions then. If only you could have seen my face every time something was said. The parallel between us would have been amazing.
I think I heard your scoffs from across the room. but it made me laugh. And I liked it because it's cheesy, and it made me understand that the movie had no confusion about what it was trying to do. It was trying to be cheesy because nobody talks like that. It knew exactly what it was. I like it for that.
I think overall it had terrible pacing.
Okay, I can agree with this.
And it made it hard for me, not even as a Mortal Kombat fan, just as an audience, a member of the audience, to sit there and take everything in. And I'm busy being upset at the way the film is going itself, that when the cheesy lines pop up, instead of enjoying them, I'm like, oh, it's misplaced. This was the wrong time to use it. This is off completely.
Is there ever a good time to say
Kano wins?
No, honestly, they didn't need to say that. They didn't need to say it.
Well, you know, that's actually funny because I've been seeing we've been seeing a lot of discussion online. This movie is incredibly divisive, and it's one of those love it or hate it kind of movies. And even amongst the community, you see people saying that this movie is still better than the super cheesy 1995 Mortal Kombat. I don't know if you guys have seen this one. I actually think it's a better paced movie. And it handles cheesy lines. Your soul is mine, and then they say crazy stuff like that. But why does it work in 1995 Mortal Kombat?
Maybe the production value of something modern age sort of forces a viewer to take it more seriously than something from 1995. If we're watching a 1995 film now, anything campy, we're like, that's just a 90s film.
Oh, it's just the time.
We'll accept it as campy because the production value isn't as great, and we can sort of accept it more, right? Especially a video game film, right? but something now. So especially the 7-minute opening.
That was well paced.
Yeah, that was probably the most well paced.
It was
portion
mature
of the film.
and cohesive. I really liked the opening.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the time in when a film comes out lends itself to how much campy you can really.
I actually
take.
think that this one was campier. I feel like don't get me wrong, the 90s one was campy and it was cheesy, but they let dramatic moments sit. There was so many different shots in the original Mortal Kombat. You know, there's like the Liu Kang Sub-Zero fight where they know they're about to do battle, and Liu Kang just waits at the bottom of the stairs, and Sub-Zero just slowly walks down the stairs, and then they just like face each other for a while and then go into a fight. Do you remember that scene?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was dramatic, and they let it sit, you know, to have an effect. This movie was all over the place. It was just throwing characters at the wall, showing you their special moves, and it was a very different movie.
Excuse you, they're Arcana.
Yeah, the Arcana. Did you like that?
I didn't like Arcana.
I thought it was an easy way to explain special powers.
Right, and that's the thing. You need a way to explain this sort of stuff, right? For
the layman.
For the layman, that doesn't mean I like it. I understand it's a tool that they thought was necessary because of what they decided to do with the film, and insert Cole as the protagonist, a brand new character, unknown to the lore. This is who was the studio? Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Fresh new character from the film studio, and
yeah, I think that if I think if as a Mortal Kombat fan you want them to hit like every note of the background of the characters, we're going to be looking at a 4-hour, 5-hour film. They don't have time to get into the Lin Kuei, Shirai Ryu clan like war. They can't get into that. They just can't get into the background of every character. But there's no time.
I prefer that they don't give us 1/10 of the lore of individual backgrounds. Don't give me 1/10 of the Shirai Ryu Lin Kuei rivalry. You don't give me any explanation as an audience member. They don't give me any explanation as to why Bihan Sub-Zero wants to eradicate Hanzo's entire bloodline.
The movie finished, and I don't need the explanation, right? It would have been nice, but I understand that there just wasn't enough time to get into it, and I don't think that the movie suffered for not including the exact reasons. Like, we kind of get the general sense that they have a beef. I don't really need to know anything else.
I think even if we try to put it aside, we still have a subconscious bias because of our extensive knowledge of the lore. Our bias is just blending into us trying to watch it objectively.
But then why do we have such different opinions?
You like bad films, man.
You
like bad films. I don't know what to tell you.
I try not to be. I know a lot about movies. We've both watched a lot of movies. I just know what I'm signing up for when I go see a movie, and I never expect like a great piece of cinema out of a Mortal Kombat movie. It should prioritize action and wackiness, and it delivered.
That's where I think you're wrong. That's why I disagree with you. I think it should prioritize the lore and the plot and the action above all else.
I don't think the lore is what makes Mortal Kombat Mortal Kombat. It's the action. It's always been a fighting game. The action and the crazy characters, it's like taking a bunch of action figures, just getting meshed together. The lore is nice, but it's confusing and it's all over the place. I'm here to see people fight, and I think that's what Mortal Kombat's always been about. The blood, the gore, and the action.
But it's a film now. It's not a video game anymore. I just think they should tell a cohesive story that doesn't leave a bunch of open-ended questions.
But it's
you finished the film not knowing why Sub-Zero and Hanzo have beef going back up to 1619, and you leave not caring. I'm pretty sure there are people in the audience that would have wanted to know why.
People had clan wars all the time in the 1600s. That's just a part of like...
Explain it.
But what, it could have been a territorial thing. I just didn't need it. And it's like, am I supposed to waste time with like geopolitical and socioeconomic reasons of why these clans are in heated battle? It's a ninja fighting movie. I don't want to waste my time with that.
It doesn't have to be that deep, but give the audience something. Give them something basic that they can attach themselves to.
I killed your family.
Why?
Because our clans are at war, and fuck you, Hanzo.
No.
So I want you dead. Your family's in the way. I'm gonna kill you. Great. We've got a solid revenge plot.
There's nothing that indicates that they're at war. There's
the fact that he murdered his clan and his family.
we don't even know why.
God, do you need an explanation? It's just they're at war. That's all I need.
Yeah, because,
it's Mortal Kombat.
because if you're gonna kill him off by the end of the film and then have Scorpion disappear back to the Nether Realm, I'd like to know why. We don't care because we know.
Why?
What?
Why are the Lin Kuei and the Shirai Ryu at war in the Mortal Kombat lore?
Well, their clans are at war.
Yeah, why? You value the explanation so much.
Oh shit, you got me.
Point made. All right, our next topic of discussion is gonna be acting.
Oh wow.
What did you think of the performances,
that in the
Aizen?
film?
Yeah.
They acted? No.
Yeah, as much as I like the movie, I've got to concede that wasn't the best performances.
Most of them weren't solid.
But they had really, really cheesy lines to work with.
I was gonna say how much of that has to do with the script and
Yeah.
the actors having to make it, forcing it to
Yeah.
work, and then just not able to. Is that more on the writing or just the actors' inability to make it work? Because Kano had a lot of cheesy lines too.
He had the most cheesy lines.
He actually probably had most of the lines.
Yeah, he ended up being. I'm seeing online a lot of the reception. Kano was the fan favorite. He was
People
the favorite
loved
of the movie. How do you feel about that?
I enjoyed him.
Was he your favorite?
I suppose so, yeah.
Yeah.
Acting wise, yeah. Seeing him on, actually no, I won't say seeing on screen because there was another character I enjoyed seeing on screen every time. Kano was the most interesting to listen to.
Yeah, he talked the most. That's for sure.
He had a retort for everything, right? He had a comeback for everything, and I was always anticipating. I'm like, all right, someone says something, no matter what. But you know what the problem is? No matter what the mood is, Kano is there to deflate tension with a joke.
That's true.
And I kind of just want there to be the tension. I want imposing figures like Shang Tsung, when they enter the room, don't have someone crack wise at him because then it just takes away from his aura, his essence.
I do agree. Like, I think that there was a lot of places for Kano to talk his trash. It's just not warranted in every scene. You know, when he was first introduced, I actually thought it was pretty funny. There was this one moment where Sonya is just like depressed because she doesn't have the mark, the Arcana mark, and then he just goes womp womp. Yeah. And I thought it was somebody in the theater, and it was Kano, and I thought he was really funny in that scene. But then the more he started like talking, especially when they were in Raiden's temple, I'm like, you could just stop for a little bit, you know?
Yeah, you can take a break from not being the guy, the funny guy, you know. And I don't think they got him right because that's not his character entirely.
Right.
He's still a deadly, hardened criminal. Mm-hmm. And they didn't treat him as such until they decided to remind us, oh yeah, he's part of the Black Dragon, a criminal organization.
Even when he was yelling at like that dinner scene where like Kung Lao and Liu Kang were antagonizing him, I just didn't feel the malice. You know, when we look at it, and I know we're diving into like the source material a little bit here, but like the way that I understand Kano to be is like, yeah, he's a douchebag, he's a piece of garbage human being, but there's this like this underlying tone of evil that lies in him, and I didn't feel that evil in this interpretation of Kano. He's just kind of a dick.
Right. He was just kind of tagging along with everyone, and by that point in the film, he was just like one of the group, and he's like, and I don't like that because people started forming that impression that Kano's supposed to be some sort of good guy or fighting for the good guys. Right. We know he's not.
Very strange to see him on
We know he's not in the direction. They decide to take that direction of he's gonna switch sides at some point. You know. It was just it was a little weak.
Yeah. Sonya. I don't think Sonya was very good acting wise.
She was probably the one that could have been like plucked out of scenes and you wouldn't have noticed she was gone, you know.
But in terms of good acting, I thought Liu Kang did a pretty good job.
Oh, you like Liu Kang?
I liked Liu quite a bit. For anybody who doesn't know, Liu Kang has probably always been my favorite Mortal Kombat character. And although this Liu Kang was much more disciplined and had less personality than I would like out of a Liu Kang, as a supporting character, he totally nailed it, except that he was like flipping his sash
way too many times. Every scene
he flips the sash.
It's like for anyone that watches The Boys, every time Homelander would take a seat, his flowy cape, he would just have to like kind of scoot it aside so he could sit in a chair. And I was like, I never thought of when superheroes with capes actually sit down. Do they sit on the cape? Do they move out?
I would imagine they sit on it, but I guess so.
Accessories, they just get in the way.
But yeah, Liu Kang had this like regalia about him when he walked around, and he looked very disciplined. I liked his acting a lot. I thought it was pretty spot on for who he was supposed to be. I think that might have been my favorite.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Just a side note. This Liu Kang or Robin Shu's Liu Kang from the 1995
No,
film?
always Robin Shu.
Robin Shu,
Robin
always and
Shu.
forever.
Yeah. Actually, every single member of the original cast that had a counterpart in the new one, it was better done in the original one. Yeah. Bridget Wilson as Sonya Blade, she was spicy. Like
She was.
She had a mouth on her.
I don't want anything from you.
And like I felt that feeling that she can kick my ass at any moment.
Yeah,
like I felt that.
She had that army chick edge, but disciplined.
She just looked mean.
Yeah,
but it was still sexy.
But like you want her on your side. This Sonya,
fear boner.
But this new Sonya, I didn't really care much if she was on our side. I felt as if, well, she's not on our side, so what? We'll find someone better.
Right.
But Bridget, I wanted her to be on our team. If we don't have her, we're in trouble.
And Robin Shu had that same kind of spice too. I mean, he was kind of like wisecracking.
He was
always poking fun at Johnny Cage. It was kind of an Americanized introduction to the character. I think he was still very much Shaolin of the Wuxi, but I don't know, there was just like a little bit of spice and character to Robin Shu that I think definitely carried the original film. Again, this Liu Kang as a supporting character, just a little bit more reserved.
A little bit more reserved. Did you like anyone else?
I loved Cabal. Every time Cabal spoke, I was just like, that's it. Plucked him straight out of the video games. And I don't know if you noticed, but there was a cool little detail that I found. He's actually wearing a Stryker police badge on his belt.
Oh, that's my Stryker? That's what I get for Stryker?
That's what you get for Stryker.
That's all I get?
I don't know if, should we assume he's dead?
I would assume so. And that was the only issue, and not to get away from this story too much. That's when Easter eggs that are in there. That's when it starts messing with the lore a little bit. The lore, as far as we know, because it's showing us stuff like that, but we know. We know Cabal's getup, because you asked, is Stryker dead? Well, maybe, but Cabal got that getup during the events of like Shao Kahn's first invasion to Earthrealm.
Right.
So now we have to disregard that and just decide what they're gonna do with it.
Because it's a different movie. They don't have to adhere to the lore in any capacity. Like they can literally make things up. Cabal could have gotten his burns in a building fire and lost his buddy Stryker. Maybe he was chasing the Black Dragon. It could be anything.
Maybe.
We actually cannot think about the lore, but there's a section for that later.
Let's wrap up the Earthrealm side of things. Who else did we have?
Kung Lao was probably one of my favorite characters in the movie. The way he was represented was absolutely insane. The acting in terms of Kung Lao, I don't think he had to do much. He did his job.
Yeah, Kung Lao is wisecracks enough, you know?
Yeah.
I think it was fine.
But just in terms of representation, I mean, the choreography in this movie, honestly, it was really, really good. I think it didn't quite blow me away, but everything was really, really solid.
Kung Lao is probably the most represented in terms of just the fighting style adapted from the latest Mortal Kombat game. The moves themselves, his movements, whether he's jumping, floating through the air, it's all it's like a copy paste.
And that's what I'm saying.
Last iteration.
A lot of people say that because of the introduction of Cole Young or because of the switching around of some characters, that the director and the writing team, they don't know Mortal Kombat or they don't respect Mortal Kombat. And just from looking at the way Kung Lao fought, I saw a great amount of respect for Mortal Kombat. I mean, it's like you said, they were copy-pasting moves. I mean, he was moving exactly how he does in the video game. They even had that Easter egg with Liu Kang doing the sweep kick.
With Kano.
With Kano, harking back to the arcade days, where those are the only moves that people used to do. I mean, this is stuff that a Mortal Kombat fan would put in their movie. So I don't think that I don't think on the writing team or in the direction there's a disrespect or a non-caring about the lore. I think that they are restricted by studio things and they have to tell their own story. and I think that they're doing that strongly.
I disagree with a lot of things there, but we'll save it for the end segment with our disagreements because we're talking about the acting.
Yes, that's right. Okay.
Does that hurt you?
Yeah. Well,
Did I
don't forget the
disagree?
point. I really want to hear how you disagree with that.
All right.
All right. Well, moving on, I guess, to the next. Go ahead.
Just a couple more.
Yeah.
Jax.
Again, he did his job.
And then
I'm not mad at the guy.
our protagonist, Cole.
So bland.
So bland. if you were to pluck him and throw him into another action film, right? Another generic action film,
I would not even notice the difference.
and just switch him with another one, and it doesn't matter, right?
It was really bland.
Did you care at all about his family?
No, not at all. But I don't think that an audience vehicle or an audience surrogate has to be bland. I get why you're here, but there definitely could have been more. I don't know how they could have done more though. Like, is that an acting
make him more
problem?
likable?
Yeah, like how do we even make Cole more likable? I don't even know where to start.
Honestly, the lines didn't lend themselves to maybe his subpar acting.
You think his acting was subpar?
Because you can make certain lines work, right? Kano was able to make a lot of his lines work.
He had a lot of
lines.
lines.
Even though they were very cheesy. Kano Wins was very cheesy. And it wasn't for the fact that he delivered it perfectly.
Yeah.
I would have disliked it a lot.
That's true. Like
I would have scoffed at that, but I didn't.
still don't think the line worked. It was really out of place. But if we ever got close to a line working, it would have been his delivery on it. He kind of saved that line.
Yeah, I don't think there's any real way to redeem Cole. I just think everyone else's established character is just of more importance, and I care more about them as a fan.
Yeah, I was gonna say that
As a fan, I'm gonna care more about Liu Kang.
I'd like to know somebody who doesn't know about Mortal Kombat and see how they felt about Cole. Most people I'm seeing online don't care for Cole. If you've even played Mortal Kombat ever in your life, which I think most people watching this channel probably do, you probably didn't care about Cole either, and they certainly didn't help.
Let's go to the Outworld side.
Okay, Melina. Yikes.
I liked her.
You like. All right, getting back into it. Inconsistencies, right? You're having a problem with inconsistency in the movie with Melina's mouth opening. I will refer you to the video games, which you adhere to so much.
I'm not the gatekeeper of the lore.
In Mortal Kombat X, right, we have a beautiful baby girl by the same name, Melina, who has teethies on the side of her face and beautiful little lips, right? Right before she died at Devora's hands, right? And then in MK11, she's reintroduced as a DLC character, no lips, just a big old mouth. From one game to the next, she has a completely different face. Why is that okay in the video games and not in a stupid, silly movie?
Oh, you think you got me, huh?
I think I got you.
You think you backed me to a corner?
I think I got you all the way
haven't,
there.
actually. Because my problem is, don't show me her face, right? Because then we get to see plenty of her face, right?
Yeah, we see
what
of
it
her
looks
face.
like. It doesn't seem to really. Her mouth opening towards the end was very jarring because I didn't expect that. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Is she breaking apart the scene?
Yeah, it looked awesome.
It was very well done. Then the front teefies became completely different teefies, and that's when you lost me. Just keep it consistent from the beginning. Give her the teefies in the front too.
All right, I guess I see what you're saying. The gentleman who played Hanzo Hasashi,
Yes,
Scorpion.
yes.
I mean, I think the guy did a great job.
Acting wise, I don't think there was much that would have.
Yeah, he was in the movie all of like what 5 minutes.
His design, his actual Scorpion costume design, I thought was spot on.
Oh my god, the costume design was excellent. I saw somebody online say that set design and costume design was one of the worst parts of the movie.
I think they had beautiful sets, beautiful pieces.
From the few sets that they had, it was pretty nice.
Mind you, there are certain things like Outworld maybe being a little more fleshed out, but
it was pretty bland.
It is a barren wasteland. So
not always. Think about
no. A lot of it is. So I'm not expecting to see bustling marketplaces like we've seen in the games, right?
Yeah.
So I'm fine with seeing what we saw, and I thought it was pretty good.
I would like some more world building going forward, but we also have to understand that this was made on a $50 million budget. It's a rated R movie, so WB is not throwing wads of cash at Mortal Kombat. They have to exist within these kinds of small constraints.
Yeah.
I believe Deadpool was also made on a very similar budget, rated R, 50 million. It was a risk.
Right.
It's a risk.
Yeah, but the world they were working with wasn't as expansive as the one that they were trying to create with Mortal Kombat, right? Deadpool, you could just sort of have him do whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like half of Deadpool took place on the damn freeway, and I feel like half of Mortal Kombat kind of took place in the Sky Temple.
Yeah. Oh, excuse you. It's not a Sky Temple.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What did they call it in this movie? It was
just Raiden's
It was
temple.
just Raiden's temple. It wasn't in the sky.
Yeah, you can switch some things up, right? I'm just not gonna like it. Why not make it the Sky Temple? Why
Budget
make
constraints.
You don't have to show anything. Just have the temple, but just that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's hard for us to contextualize. $50 million sounds like a shit ton of money.
It seems like having
I'm pretty sure I can make a Sky Temple with $50 million. Source material.
Lore.
Respecting the lore.
Oh, I've been waiting for this, baby.
I want to go into this saying it again. I don't think that it needed to copy the lore or the source material word for word or game for game. It's its own thing, but it has to respect it to some degree. I do agree with that. But where did it go fatally wrong for you, or what are you concerned?
I think the biggest difference. Because Cole is our protagonist and we have to follow the story through him. And even though he's not propped up to be the leader or the champion of Earthrealm, right? He is the one that the prophecy foretold.
But I don't think that they're going to make Cole the champion. I still think that's going to be Liu Kang.
I feel it's just a waste to prop him up the way they did.
Again, we're just kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. I mean, it's a studio decision. He's an audience vehicle. And I actually think Liu Kang and Kung Lao are still canonically within the movie better fighters than Cole, and I think they're more like in a place to win Mortal Kombat than Cole.
I think they are too. I keep saying them being relegated to side characters in this film, even if they go on in the next film to be propped up,
they still weren't brushed to the side though. They were important. They were supporting characters.
They were just as important. Well, actually, no. They had they had slight bit more importance than us since Kung Lao and Liu Kang were obviously training them.
Yeah.
And
they kind of pushed the whole thing along.
Yeah, and they helped everyone unlock their sort of arcana.
I still think that the integrity of the tournament is still preserved, and I think Liu will still win. There was all sorts of fun Easter eggs as well.
There were. I think we agree.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the Easter eggs.
The Easter eggs were really, really cool. If you're a Mortal Kombat fan, I think this is like a feast to watch.
Although.
Okay, here we go.
Some of them do sort of. And again, I'm going to keep harping back to things twisting with the lore because there's already an established timeline and lore.
But you don't know the history that exists in this movie. Nothing is being twisted as of yet. Easter eggs don't twist anything because it's already a different universe. It's a different history.
Right, but I don't like that. I don't like that it's a different universe. Why
are you watching a movie?
Because it's Mortal. I'm not saying they made drastic changes. I'm just saying I don't like that anything really has to be changed.
But they can't copy the plot of the game.
I'm not asking them to copy it. The first film copied the first game and they did it fine.
There was barely any game to draw from when the Mortal Kombat movie came out. There were 2 games that had come out with very light lore. They were games for Sega Genesis and the arcade. There's not a lot to draw from. The original Mortal Kombat movie had creative liberty forever. They could just make things up because there was nothing.
And you're right. And I think there being so much lore now, I don't think they know what to do with it. And they want to throw Easter eggs for the sake of throwing them out there.
I think that's fine.
I don't think that's fine.
Tell your story, guys. And if you want to give me a nod to let me know that you like the video games and that you know what's in the video games, that's cool. I like that. But it's obviously your story. Whatever they show me is what the truth is in this universe. I have to accept that. It's their story. It's not Ed Boon's, it's not John Tobias's, it's whatever story these people are telling, and whatever they show us, we just gotta accept it.
It's not their story to tell, though.
It is. Warner Brothers put them in charge, and Warner Brothers owns everything. If Warner Brothers puts these guys in charge and says, hey, write this story, write this movie, it is now theirs to create, and we are guests.
They had something great to work with, something that was proven to be loved by a majority of fans, and they just started doing whatever they wanted.
It's also a mess. The video games are a mess. They constantly retcon things. I don't think that...
Constantly retconning Yeah, they did a couple retcons, but
It's not some tight lore that goes in super deep and it has important commentary. You don't lose much by retconning and switching things around in the lore because the video games themselves do that.
The only reason they retconned it recently is because they needed to they created the lore. There wasn't an established lore until maybe
so Ed Boon
the
can
fourth or fifth game.
So Ed Boon can flip around the lore as many times as he like, and we have to say that's okay, and we like that. But then when a movie studio does it their way, that's bad.
He created the lore. He established the lore. He needed the reboot to establish the lore.
So who do we respect here? Do we respect the lore or do we respect Ed Boon?
What do you mean? Ed Boon created the lore and Tobias.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that I just think that if we're already used to lore being switched around and retconned, then this should be no different. It shouldn't matter who's doing the switching. We're already used to crazy switches all the time.
Do you want anyone to come in and switch up the lore? Would you want that, or would whoever? If you had a choice between just another Russo brother coming in and doing what they want with the lore, or having Boon continue with his lore, what would you rather have?
I'm just saying it's a movie. Ed Boon's not involved in the production of the movie.
I understand that, but there should be a standard. You don't want just anyone coming. You saying, well, they could just come in and twist the lore. You don't want that. I don't want that.
All I want is a story that harkens back to the games and it just goes from beginning to end and it tells me a complete story. And I got that.
He didn't tell a complete story.
From the beginning of the Mortal Kombat movie to the end of the Mortal Kombat movie, they completed a plot. They completed a story.
This is sort of a retelling of the events of the first Mortal Kombat. Granted, they're not gonna get everything. They're not gonna copy paste everything from the first couple games. But deciding to go with having Goro sort of put on the bench and reserved for fighting Cole on Earthrealm as our first introduction, and having him killed off. And unceremoniously, I thought that was pretty weak.
He can come back, and it wasn't unceremonious. He was beating the shit out of Cole, and then Cole fought back.
But what do you mean he could come back?
He could come. Anybody could come back.
But then that makes any death then is just I'm not gonna care.
Refer to game. Same exact thing happens in the game all the time. People die, they come back the very next game, or 2 games later, or 3 games later. None of this is new.
But we had years of lore to establish why we should care about these characters when they die.
The lore is inconsistent in the game.
I'm telling you why we would care about the characters dying, because they're established. So by the time they are killed off, we're like, oh damn, I like this person. They were killed off. They meant something to the story. I don't care now if Goro died in the film, because the first instance we get him on scene, he's dead now.
Okay, and maybe he'll come back next time, or maybe he won't.
He should have importance. He's a very important, vital character to the franchise. The lore, the essence of Mortal Kombat. He is the champion of Mortal Kombat.
Important characters get written off. Melina got devoured in MKX by a brand new character. Sure, that pissed fans off, but fans get pissed off about all kinds of things, including what you're pissed off about with this movie. I just think that it's just like the game. The movie is doing what the games already do. It's no different. It might as well be another video game installment because of how it messes around with the lore. It's just telling another story, and I'm taking it for what it is.
If you want to tell another story, it could work. I don't think the story that they're trying to tell is working. You have a revenge plot. You have them trying to save, to as you said, preserve the integrity of Mortal Kombat. You have a training montage going on. You have
all of it reached its conclusion. All of it finished. They told it.
It wasn't impactful. The most impactful one was probably the revenge plot, sure. But then I still don't. If you're a casual moviegoer, you still don't know why why Bi-Han wanted to kill Hanzo.
That's not that important.
Why can't it be important? It's a film. If I'm paying,
because the plot A of this movie was Shang Tsung is trying to murder Earth's combatants before Mortal Kombat starts. That was plot A. The Bi-Han Scorpion thing was a plot B that was just kind of used to bring Cole Young full circle. Or Cole Turner, I forgot if they changed his name, but the plot A was told completely. That's what we needed the most context in, and we got it, and it was finished. It doesn't matter why Bi-Han had beef with Hanzo. Like I said, people had clan wars in the Imperial era all the time. It could have been any number of things.
They could have given us something. They could have given us a flashback. They could have given
a flashback within the 16-17 fight between them was already a flashback. I don't need double flashbacks.
Give us a small scene as to something that Hanzo did that would have antagonized Bi-Han enough to come after him.
It's a waste of time. It doesn't contribute to plot A, which is Shang Tsung. It would just be unnecessary. That's the kind of shit that gets left on the cutting room floor.
Man.
I know that there's fat in the movie. You tell me where you think the fat is, though. I want to know.
I think the fat was probably a third of the film. Their arrival from this.
It's not that much.
What do you mean the rest?
No, go ahead.
Only maybe 20 minutes took place outside of the Sky Temple. Everything was at the Sky Temple. The rest of the film was at the Sky Temple.
The Sky Temple isn't fat.
It was more than a lot of stuff going on at the Sky Temple was fat.
Like what?
Them having useless band of all the training scenes that they had.
The training scene is not fat. Yeah, they were all necessary. They all served a purpose. We had to like train them in their arcana, and they had to learn what they had to learn. Like I don't think that was fat.
I don't want to see Cole training multiple times. I don't need to see it.
They can't just bump up like people not knowing how to fight or not knowing what Mortal Kombat is, and then they become just magically proficient in martial arts, and they can face off against the Outworlders.
But then whose fault is that? That's the fault of the director choosing.
Bro, training montages have been essential since like Rocky.
Wait, hold on. I'm saying that's the fault of the director choosing to insert the reason for who's selected for Mortal Kombat by just having a birthmark that they got by killing someone, right? That's their decision. That's their fault. The fighters in the game are chosen by Raiden. Raiden didn't even want these guys.
Movies still need training montages. Bad guys have to have the edge over the good guys. They have to beat the good guys, and then the good guys have to train to get better, and then they beat the bad guys. That's just how movies work. You can't cut out the part where they get better. Otherwise, you're bringing in good guys who are always better than the bad guys. They beat the bad guys. There's no struggle. There's no strife. They never have to get better. And now we have a shit movie. Training montages are necessary.
They're not necessary everywhere. For this film, they're not necessary.
So did you want the Earthrealmers to pull up, beat the Outworld people, and then that's it? That's the movie?
I don't want them to show me training montage as much as they did. Have them lose and then unlock their power.
Yep.
There are freaking arcanas.
Okay.
And then immediately jump into the fight and win.
That sounds like a sound plot to me.
That's stupid.
That sounds like they went from A to B to C to D, and it was all done.
No, what you're supposed to do is you have your characters. They lose their first fight. They do their training montage to get better, and then they defeat them. That's not what happened. You gave us the training montages. Outworld pulls up. They lose. They get teleported away, and then teleported back into the fight immediately with their power. With their power now.
So it's not fat because you just said that it's necessary, that they needed it.
You can have training montages and it's fine to have them, but they didn't need as many as they had. I just don't think it was that necessary.
It didn't take up like a bunch of time.
If you want, honestly, I could have done without Kano doing any training.
He was part of the cast. He was part of the gang. He needed his training too. You can't just write out certain characters. People are gonna ask, oh well, why didn't he train? Where was he during all of this? It's still pretty necessary.
I actually don't care for Kano train because if he's gonna get caught 3 times in a row by a leg sweep,
he had an arcana. He had to unlock his arcana.
Hold on. I said if you're gonna show him training and getting his legs swept out from under him 3 times in a row, haha, it's funny. But now you want me to expect? Now you expect me to buy that he might win a fight later? Nah, I don't care. Don't do any training with him now. You know,
I think you're asking for quite a bit here.
No,
and I think what you're suggesting destroys the integrity of the movie. Like, I think the movie falls apart if you take out essential things like that. I think that there are absolutely essential things. It's not just comedic relief. It just shows that he lacks the discipline that the other fighters had, and they had to trigger his arcana in a different way. They triggered it through anger, something that's natural to Kano. It's his character was fleshed out in that way. Everybody did something important for themselves and for the movie. It was a pretty basic movie. This is like script writing 101.
But it shouldn't be basic. you have so much to pull
but
from to not make it basic.
But what you're suggesting isn't complexity. What you're suggesting is to remove the basic, and then the whole thing falls apart because there's nothing left.
The complexity comes in fleshing out your characters, not through training montages. They could do without the training montages.
That's part of the fleshing out.
You don't need
whether you think that's basic or complex it doesn't make it not necessary. It was part of fleshing out their character. Kano got fleshed out through the training. They all got fleshed out to some degree.
How did Kano get fleshed out through the training?
Because it just showed that he lacks the discipline of the other fighters, and it incentivized Kung Lao and Liu Kang, who are more proficient than him, to activate his arcana in a different way.
And when does his discipline actually come into play later in the film when he betrays them?
I just said he lacked discipline. So that's what the training montage showed. It shows that he lacks the discipline of the other fighters.
What did the training help him to achieve? That he's angry? That he has no discipline?
It showed Liu Kang and Kung Lao, and it showed the audience that he had to unlock his arcana in a different way that was more natural to him, through anger. And he did it, and then he was a turncoat because he lacks discipline, which was established in the training montage.
That's cool. I don't need a training montage to establish that the guy is undisciplined and he's mad all the time.
I'm just saying that it served a purpose. It wasn't there for no reason. It's not that.
The character could have been fleshed out way better, I think, without him being put through the training montage. That's why I don't like the involvement of the arcana. I don't like it being established, because then you have to do
the arcana saves time, because if you give everybody a specific way for them to unlock their powers, now we have to spend a bunch of time explaining how they got that thing, why they are like this. Sub-Zero is part of a cryomancer gang,
that was never established.
It's the arcana. I'm just saying in the video games, right? The Lin Kuei are cryomancers, and they have a whole history. We got to talk about that a little bit so we understand.
Didn't do it in the film.
I know, because they created the arcana, which saves all of that time. Now we don't have to talk about cryomancers. Now we don't have to talk about crazy supernatural technology. Now we don't have to talk about fireball wuxi training. We can just say everybody's got an arcana, they unlock their magic, and that's why everybody's got superpowers. So easy. We did it in 10 minutes instead of an hour.
And you wasted time because you don't have to do that. Because
the first film
didn't even have to do it.
Do what?
Explain away because they didn't have to explain it in the first one. They didn't have to explain why Sub-Zero is a cryomancer.
There was less characters when Mortal Kombat 1 came out. They're trying to cover a lot of bases as fast as possible, and the arcana is a good way to do that in a sweep. I think that these movies guys can grab whatever they want from the source material and put it together in whatever way that they want. They did it for the old movie. They've done it for every single game, where they pick and choose what they want. The Mortal Kombat games create their lore based around who they decide they want to be in the roster at that very moment. And they kill and they revive and they do whatever they got to do.
That's a lie, because we know...
No, it's not.
Yes, we know there are characters that are vital to the story that always have to be there.
I don't think anybody's really safe.
Yeah, but after being the hero and the champion for five straight games.
There are people that are more safe than others, but nobody is 100% safe. They can write out Raiden. They can and have written out Liu Kang. Nobody's safe.
I'm not arguing that everyone is susceptible to dying or to possibly dropping.
Or not even being in the roster.
Or not being in the roster. And that's completely up to the director's decision to choose who that is. As a viewer, as a fan of the series, I also have the right to critique whether or not I feel that the decision to pull an important character and relegating them to the role that they had, I didn't like the decision, because I felt like they could have taken other characters that are already in that role and just throw them in there. The same that they did with Raiko and Natara. We saw Natara in one game. 2 maybe. No one cares about her, and that's fine. She looks cool, throw her in there, but no one cares about her. So whatever happens to her, no one cares. People would care if something happened to Melina. And don't tell me the Melina fans are clearly out there. I'm not one of them, but I will vouch for a character of importance being relegated to a stupid role of jobbing like that.
No matter what, somebody was going to have a problem. They were going to have this problem. Right now, in this current universe, you have the problem.
Man, no one's complaining about Raiko being jobbed.
Yeah, you'd be surprised, man. I literally saw people complaining about Raiko. Before the movie came out, there are
2 people.
Not many people are complaining about Natara. But yeah, I mean, she was fine, I guess. People were just happy to see her.
The buzzsaw was nice.
But yeah, I think people who saw the Natara like basically had 0 lines and get buzzsawed in a nice fatality. They were like, well, we're just happy to be here. I'm happy Natara got mentioned. But
yeah, the one guy out there was happy.
Yeah, but I just think anything can go, and I think anything could have always gone. And if they would have done what you wanted with Melina, and they would have done it with another character, somebody out there was gonna get mad. I would much rather have prominent characters that people know and then kill them off so that we can enjoy seeing them than picking an array of D-list characters that even Mortal Kombat fans don't care about. Have them job out of some weird respect for a character that we're not even gonna see. I'd rather see a character that I like die and lose than not even get to, like the Natara fans, right? They're like, man,
the Natara fan, the fan.
We're just happy to be here. I'm so glad that she just got in the movie. I think we should all have that attitude.
I still think their decisions have to be made based on.
I think Melina fans should be like, wow, man, they included Melina. Because the alternative was that Melina wasn't in the movie, and that sucks worse.
But what I'm saying is they could have used her for something better, so she could have still been in a film used in a better role.
And then she would have died there too, and she would have like the thing.
So we have to settle for them just being there. We can't want more, because what if they want more?
Honestly, you can't want more out of characters.
Why can't we?
You can't want more out of characters that are never going to have a place to get more.
They could. That's up to them.
Melina will never be in a place where she has to get more lines or equal lines to somebody like Shang Tsung or Shao Kahn.
She could have got more than 2 lines.
She probably did get more than 2 lines, man. I'm pretty sure she got more than 2 lines.
Maybe a hiss.
And she talked to Sonya a little bit there. She's like, I don't.
And she licked someone. I think.
Honestly,
which is cool.
I think Melina fans got to take that.
They took an important character.
She's not that important.
She is important. She's important in the lore. She's important.
She's been written out. She gets killed.
Everyone's been written out. That's not a vital. That's not a good point. Everyone's been written out.
Yeah, but it actually affects the story. And Melina, like Liu Kang dying, that was like a whole thing. It completely changed the scope of the plot and the rest of the game. Melina gets killed. She gets written out. Nobody talks about her sometimes, and nothing changes.
No one talks about her, bro.
In the game, I mean, in game, like when in certain games where Melina's not on the roster, nobody's just like, where's Melina? Wow, she's so integral to what's going on in our story. What are we gonna do without Melina? Nobody's saying that. Because Melina's not that important.
No one's saying that about any of the characters in the story.
No, they would, man. Because when Johnny Cage dies, when Liu Kang dies, people are like, oh my god. They start talking about the dead characters, and it changes the trajectory. All right. They go, wow, Liu Kang's dead. Mortal Kombat is like, out. Like, so shit changes.
Can you compile the posts of people complaining about certain characters dying so we could tally how many of each?
I'm talking about in-game. That's
what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Do you have the statistics to say, okay, all these people care more about the Melina dying? I'd actually wager there are again, we don't know, because when MKX came out, we weren't on fucking Reddit.
I was.
Well, you were cool, I guess.
Yeah, people were mad about it. But those are fans. I'm talking about in the game. The stories don't change. The story doesn't care that much about Melina. That's what I'm saying. She's not important.
Okay, but
to the game, to the plot, she's not important.
So if you take Sonya and you do the same shit with her,
yeah, they made a big deal out of her death. It was like a whole thing. The story changed when Sonya dies.
I'm saying if you put her in the film and did the same shit where she's just a job and she gets killed off, story doesn't change, right? But people are gonna be upset. I'm telling you, the
story does change.
No.
If you kill Sonya, the story changes, man.
Use Jackson.
She's very important.
No, she's not.
People are going to talk about it. They're going to lament about it. It's a whole thing. She's a hero. She brought in Cole. It's a moment. They have to make a moment out of it, and they have to move past that. None of that is relevant with Melina. She dies, people go, oh, okay. And then we just kind of carry on. No, Shang Tsung's not crying. Nobody cares.
Yeah, because
nobody's motivated by Melina's death.
Because they didn't do anything with her. That's the point. They could have done something with her. They could have done more. And it's not because I love her as a character so much. I'm just using her as an example. She's an important character.
Yeah, I think this is where we disagree. She's not important. No villain except like 3 of them are important, and even then it's like debatable. Shang Tsung and Shao Kahn. These guys are important. If they die, something changes deeply in Mortal Kombat. Things get moved in motion when Shang Tsung and Shao Kahn live or die. That
not really. There were 2 whole games that. Actually, there was a whole game that Shao Kahn wasn't involved at all.
Yeah, and it's discussed in the game. where Shao Kahn is, how he died, where he died, people avenging him,
Cool.
people trying to.
The story moves on. The story moves on. The story moves on.
But the story moves on. But things that happen in this new story, like when Shao Kahn dies, right? He wasn't an MKX. They were under the impression Shao Kahn died. So what happens? There's a vacuum of power. Kotal Kahn gets introduced. A war in Outworld happens because of Shao Kahn's death means something, and it moves characters in the game to do things. When Melina dies in the game, that doesn't happen.
Melina's important in that same
she doesn't
story.
leave
It was
a vacuum.
relevant.
She doesn't leave a vacuum when she dies that other characters have to fill and talk about. She can just be gone.
I understand, but just because she doesn't leave the same vacuum as Shao Kahn, because no one can.
That's what I'm saying. She's not important. If you do
She
not
is
leave,
important.
if you do not leave a void or a vacuum that motivates plots, you are not important. By definition,
what are you
you're not
talking
important.
about? She was a major point of the entire Civil War in Outworld. She's a part of a big portion of the story itself. So you saying it's not important is not accurate, because it is important. It's part of the story, a big part of the story.
She died in MKX, where she was part of the Civil War, right? And then immediately the void is filled with Devora and Rain, and nobody talks about it ever again, and we just kind of move on.
Okay. All right. So in summary, tell us.
I thought it was really fun, and I thought it was a nice, good movie, and I'm very excited to see more.
That's cool. I am looking forward to seeing more as a fan of Mortal Kombat. I will always appreciate seeing the characters on screen. Even if I don't agree with the decisions, I'm always going to be happy they're on screen, because that means people are watching, people are investing in,
I agree with that,
in the franchise.
We agreed on something.
And that's always a...
Yeah, contrary to what it may seem, it looks like we both actually like Mortal Kombat. But
yeah. No, with the film?
the franchise. We like the name
we
Mortal
like
Kombat.
that.
We like, yeah.
Don't make me yell at you.
Well, I think that's all the time that we have today. I hope that you enjoyed our back and forth, as we are wont to do. I think we're properly buzzed at this time after talking about movies. So join us next time for another installment of Movie Buzzed. I'm sure we're going to have a lot more.
We're going to argue a lot more.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more of Movie Buzzed. And thank you.